We're halfway through the year, and for a lot of people, June brings with it a very familiar feeling of I'm behind. Behind on work, behind on goals, behind on the projects you wanted to finish, behind on the person you thought you'd be by now. And the interesting thing is that most people don't arrive at that conclusion because someone else told them they were behind. They arrived there because of the story they've been telling themselves. It's a story built from expectations and comparison and moving goalposts and a definition of progress that may not fit the life they're actually living today. So, today we're talking about what we like to call the mid year trap. Why so many ambitious people feel behind, why that feeling can quietly fuel stress and burnout, and how we can start measuring progress in a healthier, more sustainable way. Let's get into it. Hey, everybody, my name is Rochelle,
And I'm Jeff.
and this is Burnout Banter. Before we jump into today's episode, please remember to subscribe to Burnout Banter on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen so you never miss an episode. You'd think I'd have that one down by now. Subscribe, y'all. So let's get into it. June feels a little bit different, and maybe it's because the middle of the year naturally becomes a checkpoint for all of us. Even if we don't really consciously plan on it, our brains start looking for milestones, and June kind of invites us to start comparing where we are today with where we maybe expected to be 6 months ago. And while reflection can be very healthy, it can also become judgment if we're not careful, right?
Yep, definitely. Lots of judgment.
We are so judgy, and we always think about that in terms of judging each other, but we judge ourselves so harshly.
Yes. My plan in June is always interesting for me because I launched my business July 1st. So 6 years.
Happy
Yes.
6-year
Thank
anniversary.
you. It's crazy to even think that or say that it's been that long. But my plan at the beginning of the year was to have a new website done and to launch a self-paced course
I remember
but
that.
by the time that I hit my anniversary, which was 2 days ago, and
How's
neither
that
of those
going?
things are done. The self-paced course is much further along than the website is, but so when we're talking about what to talk about this month, I thought this was fitting because I was definitely feeling it.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with someone about, like, we're kind of doing our end of year planning, which is wild to me because we're only halfway through the year. But we're looking at, like, all the things we still have to do and all of the things that we haven't gotten to yet, and want to and need to. And one of us finally had to say, and I wish I could say it was me, but it wasn't, had to say, maybe we should just pause and look at all of the things that we have done this year. And so, yeah, when we were talking about episode topics, like, kind of naturally arrived at a similar idea because it's so easy to fall into that trap of, like, I have so much to do, and you've survived 6 months, y'all, out of 2026 here, and I know you've done a lot. So don't be too hard on yourselves when you're checking in and trying to figure out what you've done for the last 6 months.
Well, it's funny because even like the year, right, as a marker for measuring how much we've accomplished, right? Like that's just an arbitrary thing too. Who
Yeah.
says, what you have to get done in a year or we're never going to be in a situation where I hit the end of the year and I was like, well, I got everything done. I guess I can just take next year off.
I would love that.
Only if we win the lottery. That's the only way we're going to get to do that.
Just I've gone through everything. I just not to take the whole year off, I just wanna know what it's like to get through everything and have that moment of like, "Huh, I can just relax for a second." But I will forever be adding to my to-do list.
Exactly. So I think as a species, right, we're pretty hardwired to create or look for milestones, and the middle of something is always a pretty obvious milestone that we look for. How along and done are we if we're halfway through? Because it tells us that we've spent half of our time, even on a project, right? You halfway through the deliverable phase, are we halfway done or are we behind?
Right. Like, business markers just kind of make it natural, whether it's a project milestone or maybe your company does, like, mid-year reviews, and that kind of makes you personally start reflecting on what milestones you've hit, what you've done or not done, things like that.
Yeah. So I think it's good. It's good to have those reflection points because it can create awareness, right? If I didn't get to where I wanted to be right now, it creates a point in time where I can adjust and try to get to where I want to be 6 months from now, maybe.
Where do you wanna be 6 months from now? Will your website be done? Will your course be launched?
I sure hope so.
We're all holding you to it.
Sounds good. But there's judgment and shame, right? That I'm not done.
Mhm. There
I had
shouldn't
six
be,
months. Why couldn't I get that done?
'cause you're a human being juggling a lot of roles.
I
It's
blame the World Cup.
I mean, fair, I guess. Can I also blame the World Cup for things if
You
I don't
can.
watch?
I mean, there's 3 or 4 games on a day, Rochelle. That's a lot of time.
That is a lot of time. You can multitask, there's multi-screens.
True.
I don't think we should be judging ourselves too harshly. That judgment, like you said, creates this sense of shame when we're like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't done this," or "I haven't made as much progress as I wanted to."
Yeah.
I think we should still be reflecting, but that reflection, while it needs to be honest, and sometimes that honesty comes with a little bit of guilt, it still needs to be useful. So it needs to be more about creating awareness than in condemning yourself for not having met some arbitrary deadline or goal that you needed to.
That I made up in the first place.
I was just gonna ask, did you scope your website and decide, like, it will take me 2 weeks to write the copy and 3 months to do the design? Yes, you just picked a date,
No,
of
I just
course.
picked a date because it made sense that I
Yeah,
wanted to have it done by here.
with no data to back it up.
No.
So you're not off schedule because you didn't scope an actual schedule.
That's right. It's very true.
That's okay.
And yet I still feel like I'm behind.
We all do. We all do.
So I
I'm
guess
thinking of our, I would call it a companion episode, our New Year's resolutions episode where we pretty much called them bunk, and everybody probably gave up on them after 2 weeks. But
yeah.
man, if you're still holding strong to them and you haven't made it, you still got 6 months. You're good.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, even though I feel behind, am I actually behind? And I think we've already pointed out that I'm not because I didn't create a schedule to be behind on.
Yeah, you picked an arbitrary date. If you had scoped it out and said like, "All right, this is gonna take a month, this is gonna take 2, this will take a week to refine," and you missed that schedule, I would've been like, "Okay, maybe we can be a little judgy there." Maybe not a whole lot because that's not your job, is website design. You just plucked the first. So, no, you're not behind, and you've made progress too.
That
So,
is true.
right? Instead of thinking about it as, "I'm behind because I haven't delivered," think about it as, "I'm closer to delivering because I've done X, Y, and Z."
Yeah. What do you think that feeling of behind, like, where does that come from?
Ugh, I feel like it's an external pressure. I mean, I think it comes from us internally, but I think it's spawned by comparison, especially in our modern day, always connected social media culture where you're constantly seeing other people's highs and successes and their milestones being hit. So it's very easy to pressure yourself into thinking, I'm behind because I'm not where that person is.
Yeah, I think we also create the expectation of what we're gonna get done by when we're gonna get done, and we do that to ourselves, and then when we don't hit it, right? Because even if I had scoped out my website like you said I should, maybe something else
I
happened,
know that.
like I changed jobs in the middle of working on my website that got in the way of having as much free time to work on the website.
Yeah, I got sick. I've been sick for 2 weeks. I set an arbitrary goal for myself to publish a book in August. It's already written, I'm just editing it. I'm just gonna throw it on Amazon just to see if I can. And I got sick. and now I'm super behind. That's not my fault, and I'm not behind because I arbitrarily chose August. There is literally no reason that a book needs to go out in August. There's probably a better time to publish it, I'm sure, but yeah, families change, health changes, careers change, like, people change, so we can't keep using the same scorecard, I guess, that we set in the beginning, whether it was a January resolution or an arbitrary website deadline.
Yeah, because even when I started to do it, I could have just kept going, but I thought, "Oh, if I do this and this and this, it's gonna make it better, right? I'm gonna have a better outcome." And so I did stop and do this and this and this, which is why I'm behind on the website. Whereas if I had just focused on the website, it probably would be done, but it may not be done as well as hopefully it will be going forward.
To that I say perfect is the enemy of done, but
Very true. There's no
yeah.
perfect, but there is better.
There is no perfect, but there is better, and you identified, like, places to make it better. Like, yeah, life changes, it is not static in any way, and you can't score against something that's static when you're looking back and reflecting on whether you're behind or making progress or not.
Even I think we're taught at a very early age that if we don't do the things that we say we're going to do, we failed. But I mean, that's how school is set up.
So life is set up, like, having to note your KPIs or your targets and all that good stuff, like, in business. You miss them, you fail, and ugh, we're constantly setting ourselves up for a particular expectation. But, like, how many times have you looked back and something critical has changed? Like your website.
Yeah. So we're not behind necessarily. We've just changed what we're measuring ourselves against.
Exactly.
And that, this sounds philosophical, right? But are we really ever behind or are we where we're supposed to be right
Oh,
now?
I would love to talk to an actual, like, philosophy major or something right now because, yeah, everything is made up and the points don't matter in life. We have all set arbitrary targets and goals and happiness indicators, and it's all different for everybody, but we're all trying to say it's all the same for us, and yeah, you're never behind. You're probably, to paraphrase Gandalf, precisely where you mean to be. A wizard is never late, right? You're where you need to be.
Yeah. That's a hard
All
thing
of
to
the Lord
see. What did you say? You butchered
Apologies
the
to
quote.
literally all of the Lord of the Rings fans. I'm better than that. But I butchered it. They know what I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you. I bantered over you.
It's okay. Now I have no idea what I was going to say.
I feel bad now.
No, I think the Gandalf quote was way more appropriate than anything I had to say.
I'm
You
often
gotta
mistreated as a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and while I do love the movies, I am not the big buff that everyone thinks I am.
what I was gonna say, it came back to me through our
Hey.
bantering. When I was having some tough times, challenges in my career and found my coach, Rhonda, in my mid to late 30s, like I needed the help and I benefited from the help. But when I was going through my MBA and I read her book and didn't remember doing it, even though I probably wrote a paper about it, I did not need her help. And even if I had taken advantage of it at that time, it probably wouldn't have had the same impact on me. And even the job I just took, like I've known this company for a long time and it just never worked out and now it does. So
You are
yes.
exactly to be in that moment, and the things that you need are with you in that moment.
So I think it's important that we try to remind ourselves that we're never really behind, even though we might feel that way, but we're the one creating that feeling.
I agree.
And like you said, comparing ourselves to other people really makes us feel like we're behind.
100%, 100%. I think we get a little bit lost in comparing ourselves to other people and trying to use them as a baseline for figuring out what we're supposed to do. So what's working for one person, one company, one team, it's not gonna work for all of us.
I was just reading something about how 71% of companies that are at the top of their industry will fall spectacularly over the next 10 years because they don't take the time. They're reveling in their success and they don't take the time to look at, is what got them to this point going to be what keeps them there, or do they need to adjust or whatever? And so it's really easy to get caught up in that trap of, oh, we've got this figured out. And
Oh,
then the
not
rest of us are
here.
looking at them for what we should be doing.
This is just civilization in a nutshell, right? Like, empires rise and then they fall because they get really comfortable or what we were doing doesn't work anymore, or they're comparing against a past version of themselves. Yeah, just it doesn't work that way. Mm.
Yeah, I think it's hard, right? Because we're exposed, and I'm going to use air quotes here, to everybody's wins in air quotes, because everybody puts it out there like it is a win,
Mhm.
when the reality may be that it's not. But we see how much everybody's winning, especially Charlie Sheen, and then the rest of us feel bad.
What do they always say about social media? Like, you can't compare yourself to someone else's highlight reel. 'Cause, like, I mean, granted, social media has turned into the whole beast on its own, and people do post their lowest moments, but mostly what you see are the highest points, the things that people are really excited and proud to show off. And when that's all you see from the people around you, it can feel like nobody else experiences the behind and the low moments. So it makes it really easy to fall into that trap of comparing your reality to what is not their reality, what is, in fact, just the highs for them.
Yeah, I was watching it while I was eating lunch today. I was just kind of flipping through, I don't know if it was LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, but I saw Trinity Rodman juggling in high heels. And it's like, wow, that's really cool that she can do that, right? But what we don't see is how many thousands of hours Trinity Rodman spent juggling in order to get to the point where she could juggle in high heels and make it look effortless.
Yes.
And
Yes.
probably thousands of hours walking in high heels too.
I still haven't mastered that one, so yes. Do you think that we forget some critical things when we're comparing ourselves to someone else's success?
Oh, we forget so many things. It's so easy to get wrapped up in what how successful somebody else looks. We forget that their life may not be everything that we see. We forget how much work they put into getting there. We forget that they may want something totally different than what we want.
Mhm. Yeah, we're not all moving towards the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that happens a lot.
I saw an advert for a show about, I think the premise was asking men if they thought they could take on female athletes, and the first one was, like, a dude up against Serena Williams, and he's like, "Yeah, of course I can take her."
No, we couldn't.
"No, you can't." Because she's a professional trained athlete who has devoted her entire life to working for this, and maybe you only see her best games, and you don't see those countless hours of work put in to train and refine technique, and yeah, yeah, it's a great clip.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody in my office who just did a big bike race over the weekend, and he had some mechanical trouble with his bike and ended up back with the professional female racers who had started later. And he was coasting with them or riding with them, whatever the correct biking term is. I don't know. And he's like, it was humbling to be like, they kicked my butt trying to keep up with them because they're professional bike riders.
Yeah,
And
male
why do we
female.
even think that we can't keep up with them?
Yes, this is insane to me that people think that they can, "Oh, I can do that."
Yeah.
Same thing with art, people walk into a museum and they're like, "Oh, I could have done that." Like, I mean, maybe, like, you can think of it. You haven't spent countless hours, like, training your eye to see things that way, or training your mind to think about things and interpret the world in that way. So sure, could you have put a blue line on a piece of canvas? Sure. Could you have taped a banana to a wall? Absolutely. But, like, the thought behind it, could you have gotten there in the
Yeah.
same way? No. No, because it's not your world.
Well, I do think that is a problem too, because high achievers are always thinking they can do more. They're constantly moving the goalposts on themselves, right? Like, yes, I can do this, so I could do that too. And so we don't take the time to look at what we have done in the first 6 months of the year, how that's moved us further down the road to where we wanted to be, even though we may not be to where we want to be yet, which I would argue we're never to where we want to be. We never will get
Nope.
there. But yeah, I think that's a problem that highly ambitious people have is that they don't even take the time to celebrate that they just accomplished something. It's like, good, check, done, on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And
You just
that's,
submitted this incredibly complex proposal. On to the next one. Yes, that's the nature of the business, but, like, pause, because TxDOT was probably a beast. Like, have a sip, have a 15-minute breather, like, you did that, and then move on.
yeah. And I think that's where burnout shows up, right? Because we do just keep moving and keep trying to do more and more and more. And eventually we get tired of it, or our body gets tired of it, or our mind gets tired of it. It's like, I used to have this thought all the time like, when are you going to be happy with what you've accomplished? Oh, when I do this, or when I do that, or when I accomplish this next thing, then I'll be happy. But I just would accomplish it and keep moving. And so happiness was always deferred.
We're always hungry
Yeah.
as high achievers, we're always hungry, and by that, we're always starving ourselves, right? Like, we're never satisfied, and it's never enough, and it screws with our motivation, it screws with everything.
So I don't think we probably need to find more motivation. We need to find more celebration.
Yes. Yes. Pause, recognize that you've done a lot. Even that step 1 is recognition, I would argue, and then celebration.
Yeah.
'Cause I know so many people who don't recognize, and you tell this story all the time about, like, having someone write down, like, 3 things that they're proud of or that they've accomplished, and then you should be able to fill a whole page in just a day of things that you have done and accomplished. You got out of bed today. You fed yourself. Like, these are not insignificant things, y'all.
No. No, I was talking to a client a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about how, he took his son to go to a couple of friendly soccer games, and they were going to the World Cup, and it's taken him to practice, and they go to the park with their daughter, and he's like, "But I just feel like I'm not being a good dad right now." And it's like, you just listed off so many things that are like, you're being a good dad right now, but yet you're not stopping to give yourself credit for what you're doing. And so
Yeah.
we always look at what we're not doing versus what we have done.
Sorry, I'm trying to, like, organize my thoughts around what I'm trying to say here because I feel like we're getting to the heart of things. Because obviously we all measure ourselves. There is no question that we are keeping score, keeping judgment against ourselves and these arbitrary targets or goals or things that we aspire to. I think the thing we really need to focus on is how we measure that, and we're circling it, right, with this recognition and celebration, but how do we set up markers to measure our lives with expectations that align with, like, our values or our priorities or what's going on with our lives today, right? Like, we talked about, careers change, health changes, family changes. Like, if we're measuring against 6 months ago you, how do we update and make sure we're measuring against present day you?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think too often we get wrapped up in the outcomes of what we're trying to do, and we don't pay enough attention to why we're doing them, why it's important to us, who we want to be as a person, who we want to be as a business owner, who we want to be as an employee. And I
Yep.
think if we can take a step back and put more focus on that, I bet people would be really surprised at how much they do accomplish that ties into that intention that they set for themselves. Whether they achieve one thing versus the other isn't really the point. The point is, am I living in a way that's in alignment with who I want to be?
Right.
And yes, I may accomplish the thing I set out to, and I may not because the goal changed or the priority shifted. And that's okay, right? We should have the freedom to adjust and to shift. And so that's where I think if the middle of the year is a good point to check in and say, okay, I set these goals in January. Are they still applicable to what I want to achieve this year? Or am I chasing the wrong thing? Or, has something else happened that makes it way more important? Like, I think we've talked about my employee who had a baby prematurely, right? Like,
Mhm.
it changes what you're trying to achieve in life, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And if you continue to hold yourself to, well, I was gonna pass my PE exam and I was gonna do this, I was gonna do that. Well, yeah, what you didn't know was you were about to have a premature baby and spend the next 3 months going to hospital every day.
Yeah, I think it's less a matter of checking in on the goal as it is checking in on yourself,
Yeah,
as woo-woo as that sounds. You can't get to that goal or that goal, like, the scheduling of it doesn't really matter if you're not paying attention to who you are now, who you were, and who you're gonna be as you're working towards it.
yeah. So, what are some good questions you could ask yourself at this reflection point when everybody's listening to this to see how the first 6 months of the year have gone?
Number 1, I think we get derailed all the time. So my first question would be, did something happen that I didn't expect? Did I get sick? Premature baby? Did I change jobs? Things like that.
Yeah. And I would guess for most of us, the answer is probably yes. Because if we could predict everything that was going to happen to us in the future, I
God,
would
it's
use
not
my
efficient.
powers to win the lottery and not have to do anything next year. Back to that point.
Jeff has brought up the lottery like 3 times, just so y'all know.
I should really start playing
You
so I could win.
can't win if you don't play.
Yep. I think another good one to ask is, what did I learn?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We talk all the time about, you don't fail, you just gain data, right? Like,
Yeah.
you learn from things and then you get better in the future. And on that note, like, what was I proud of? I might not have done exactly the thing that I thought I was gonna do, but did I do something along the way, right? My New Year's resolution was to learn Italian. I am not even close. Did I navigate a conversation with a native Italian and not fall on my face? Yes. Am I gonna take that as a win? Yes.
Better than I could do.
Proud of it. The little lady at the counter definitely took pity on me, but you know what? She knew what I was trying to order. Life is good. We're fine. Proud. Be proud of it. I'm not fluent. I can't, write a book in Italian, but I made a step,
Yeah.
baby step.
And maybe along those lines, maybe speaking Italian too doesn't matter anymore. I'm not saying that that's a yes or a no, but right, what doesn't matter anymore that was important to me 6 months ago?
Literally having that fight with myself right now because my trip has passed and that was the point of learning Italian. Am I going back soon enough for me to need to continue to learn it? I don't know, maybe not. Does something else in my life deserve more attention? Because I no longer need to learn Italian.
Maybe now your next trip is to France and you want to learn French.
Oh dear, no. I have attempted French and nope. We might go back to Spanish though.
Okay, Spain then, or
Or
Mexico.
there you go. Or just, because I live in New Mexico and people expect it of me, but, you know.
Yeah, and then I think another one is, am I proud of the person that I am? Am I the person that I want to be?
Yeah, all of this is working towards a version of you, right? It's not just a goal to have a website. It's not just a goal to have a course. That is a version of Jeff that is an educator, right? Or is a presence. Is that still who you want to become? Is a huge, very important question.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're not just trying to win the year as much as our companies think we are.
Yeah, no, we're just trying to live it. Just survive it. And maybe live it well if you can.
Yeah. And be us.
Yeah.
All right. Should we move on to our burning question?
Let's do it. What do we got?
And now it's time for burning questions.
So this comes from a marketing coordinator and architecture firm. Every time someone asks me how things are going, my stock answer is always busy. But when I stop and think about it, I don't actually know what I'm busy toward anymore. It feels like I'm constantly moving, constantly checking things off, but I don't feel like I'm making the kind of progress I thought I would be. Is that just a part of getting older and having more responsibility, or is something else going on?
Ooh, I feel that. That's usually my default answer too. I don't think I've ever reflected on it quite this much though.
I think we're all scared to say, I'm just hanging out, nothing really going on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is something I'm actually actively learning is how to not be bored, but be still. And I'm
Yeah.
realizing I'm really bad at it. So busy is a comfortable answer.
Yeah.
Still is a judgmental answer.
And we're not telling you to give the answer, yeah, no, I've got nothing going on. Do you have any
No.
work for me?
No,
Haven't had anything to do for months.
let's not do that. Maybe fill that time with something that brings you joy. I'm not actually hearing I'm busy in this question. Bear with me. It feels a little bit more like I'm doing things, but I don't know if that effort is going towards things that make sense for my life. Like when she says, or they, sorry, I don't actually know like who this is, but when they say, I don't feel like I'm making the kind of progress I thought I would be. Are we measuring against a specific career goal, something that they want to achieve for themselves? Are we trying to get somewhere personally? So I don't think it's I've got more responsibility, I've got more tasks. I think it's I've got a mismatch of values or I don't understand anymore why I keep taking on this responsibility and what it's doing for me.
Yeah, I think this also feeds into, I don't know, have you ever heard of the idea of using your genius?
Ooh, I have not.
So, right, we all have things that we're really good at. And we also have things that we're really good at that we really like that are in line with what our genius is. And so somebody in this role could be really good at all the things that they're being asked to do, but those things may make them hate their job because it's not in line with what their genius really is. And so if we can figure out what people's genius is, then we can give them tasks that support and build upon what they really enjoy doing.
I like that a lot.
So I think too often, right, we get stuck because we're good at something doing it over and over again. Well, this person's great at that. Yeah, well, they hate it too. And so I think
I
if you're feeling like you're busy or you're taking on all this responsibility and doing more and more and more, but you're not sure where it's moving you, I do think it would be worth stepping back and saying, like, is this actually in line with or aligned with where I want to go or what I want to accomplish or what I want to be doing on a regular basis? Like, what energizes me and what doesn't?
Yeah. Oh, that's no, mic drop, we're done. That was perfect. I was circling on, like, high achievers are really good at, like, not staying busy, but, like, keeping themselves in motion. We're not good at being still, and we get that, like, lovely, rewarding good work with more work, and so that's what they're just used to, and I got stuck there, but you took that thought and you, like you completed it and pulled it back and aligned it, and I think so many of us are stuck in something like that, and I have a feeling that this is not the only person who is asking themselves a question like this, and who probably does need to step back and say, "Okay, I'm doing a lot, but does that align with the big do? Like, what do I really want to be doing?"
Yeah, I was on an airplane one time and extremely frustrated with my job, which I do have a tendency to get there every now and again, as Rochelle knows. But somebody had suggested just like write down what you like to do about your job and what you don't like to do about your job. And it became so obvious why I was frustrated when I did that and what would have made it better because I wasn't getting to do enough of the things that I really wanted to be doing. And I was spending a lot of time doing things that I was good at, but I didn't enjoy. And so there was a lot of frustration and burnout around how much time I was spending doing these things that I didn't like.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone loves to stick me in outward facing roles because they think I'm so charismatic, I guess, and social, and my goodness, are those draining? No, you want me behind the scenes, you want me thinking big thoughts, you want me sketching things out. You do not want to spend more than 10% of my time putting me in front of people in on situations. I think there's a ton of roles that have mismatched alignment like that.
Yeah. So that would be my advice to this person. Just take a pause and see if what you're busy towards is where what you really want to be busy towards.
Yeah. Or even just, do you know where you're trying to go?
Yeah. And is it where you want to go or is it where you think you should be going?
Yes, because of those outward pressures telling us where we think we should be.
Yeah. All right. I think we've answered it. And
I
we're
think
up
so.
against the clock because Rochelle has another meeting.
I'm sorry. Is it where I really wanna be? No. I would rather be here with all of you. But you wanna sign us off, Joe?
All right. Friendly reminder to our listeners, if you have a burning question, you can email it to us at burnoutbanter@gmail.com. Please remember to like or subscribe to the podcast on Audible, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you listen to make sure you never miss an episode. And finally, if your organization's struggling with burnout and stress management, Rochelle and I can help. So just reach out to us and we'd be happy to talk through what your people are experiencing.
And remember, crispy is not a career strategy.
See you next month.
Bye, y'all.